Update. My husband got jealous over the girl he led on for years at our wedding. Original post. I, 25 female, got married to my husband, 24 male, we'll call him Jim, a week ago after dating for 2.5 years. Jim has a friend called Misha, 22 female, who was invited to the wedding. He and Misha have known each other since high school and were close friends, and Misha had a very obvious crush on Jim from what he and others who know them have told me. Jim told me this after I met Misha for the first time and confessed that he leaned into her crush and led her on throughout their high school years and for a little while after before we got together because he was struggling with his mental health and he really liked her attention. He seemed genuinely guilty about all of that because he thought Misha was a nice girl and a good friend. And because he showed guilt, I didn't feel the need to bring it up or argue about it despite thinking it was a horrible thing to do. Plus, Misha is a nice girl who has never overstepped boundaries and has been nothing but kind and friendly towards me, and I now consider her a friend too. Misha moved away to the city last year and has done really well for herself and has a long-term boyfriend who none of us have met yet. So, when it came to sending wedding invites, I told her she was welcome to bring him as her +1. The first red flag came when Jim was weirdly resistant to the idea of Misha bringing her boyfriend. But he excused it on being concerned about the number of guests we invited, and the matter was dropped. When the wedding day came, Misha showed up in this beautiful dress. Nothing inappropriate for a wedding, and with her boyfriend on her arm, who I'll admit is a very handsome guy. Think a Kit Harington type. She's also lost weight and has a haircut that suits her better, and I thought she looked great. We also found out throughout the night that her boyfriend is very successful and earns more than practically anyone else who attended. Throughout the reception, I noticed Jim glaring at Misha and her boyfriend the whole time, and he was really cold and short towards her when she came over to congratulate us and give us a gift. He was also straight up kinda rude to her boyfriend when Misha introduced us to him. When his mom, who's always known and liked Misha, mentioned that she was glad Misha found a great guy and praised her boyfriend for being so nice, Jim snapped that. At least she won't be desperate and hung up on me for the rest of her life, which I thought was cruel and uncalled for. But I didn't challenge him because I didn't want to argue at my wedding despite the fact that he frankly sounded bitter. The whole thing has left an awful taste in my mouth, and I can't help but think that Jim got jealous that Misha's found a guy who's honestly quite a catch, who she's clearly very in love with, and is now completely over Jim. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. It's giving bitter. Can't imagine how that must have been for you. Says a lot about his character, to be honest. It felt a lot like watching a kid get upset at another kid for playing with a toy they personally never wanted to play with in the first place, if that makes any sense. I get it. But I mean, apart from this, have you never had an indication of what a crappy guy he is? I mean, character matters, and he lacks a lot of it. Can't imagine it being so unsettling and such a turn-off. He's definitely always been quite insecure, but I thought it was something he was really working on and making progress with. Annulment/divorce is a choice you can't back out of, so take a moment to consider it. That is, unless you have other reservations about him that you haven't shared with us here, because no one here knows your life aside from this post. I think the best next steps would be to sit down and tell him how you feel and how his attitude really dampened the wedding. That he took a day that was meant to be about your combined future and focused in on his past. A past that he apparently didn't care about until someone else showed interest. Hopefully it was a moment of weakness. A moment where he hadn't realized he had fallen into old habits, and he apologizes to you and does what he can to make up for how badly he killed the mood at the wedding. And with a wish and a prayer, maybe then takes the time to call up the girl, who was supposed to be his friend, and apologize to her too, but that's just wishful thinking. Either way, if he doesn't show any remorse or humility for how he acted, then I'd say annulment is back on the menu. I think I would have to take a step back from hubby and see if there were any other red flags I've missed. He was jealous of this woman and her boyfriend on your wedding day. I cannot imagine how much this hurt you. I am so sorry. How he admitted to treating that girl was the red flag. I hope he entirely overlooked it basically. He was okay using someone to meet his own needs and feed his ego for years. How exactly did Opie think that makes for a good husband material? But that's the other problem. Way too young in my opinion to be getting married anyway. Let's not mention the fact it seems Opie is in this exact situation now. Seems like she was a placeholder until girl came back to her senses for Jim. If your husband couldn't enjoy his wedding day, I fear for your future. His only reason to snap is jealousy, but you should be swirled. OP needs to get a divorce now, before things get even more out of hand with more unexpected craziness. Annulment should be considered ASAP. Get this all out on the table, OP, to see if you still want to be married to him. Now for the mini update. After getting some PMs from people, I decided to go through his phone while he was napping after work. And needless to say, this marriage is over. I'll post a real update when I have sorted everything out. Now for the full update. Hey everyone, I'm posting this here because I said in my last post that I would update when I was able to. Pretty much the day after my original post, I got some PMs from people suggesting that I go through my husband Jim's phone to see if he and Misha were truly just friends before this, and that nothing romantic happened between them that would explain his reaction at the wedding. He always takes a 45-minute nap after work, and so I used that as my opportunity to swipe his phone from where it was charging on his desk so that I could look through it. I've seen him put in his passcode a ton of times, so that wasn't an issue. I didn't find anything in his texts with her, but I know that Jim goes on Instagram a lot, so I checked there too. The immediate red flag was that he'd used an app lock that required a passcode to access Instagram, but the dumbass used the same passcode that he uses to unlock his phone, so I got into that right away. It's his birth year, go figure. And what would you know? I go to his messages with Misha and find messages from him the morning after our wedding, telling her how beautiful she'd looked that night, how much he'd missed her, how he felt that her boyfriend being there spoiled his opportunity to catch up with her and that he was desperate to meet up with her. Misha never replied to these messages, and he sent some more to her later that day. I won't get into what he said because they were very personal insults that were frankly just gross, but just think about the kind of stuff you would read on that nice guy subreddit. Misha left him on read, and when I clicked on her account, it appears that she's blocked him. I scrolled through their messages quite far back, and I believe nothing romantic has happened between them. I wish that was all, but looking into his other conversations on Instagram, I found that he's been messaging other girls on there. They seemed like aspiring Instagram model types from our area. Most of these conversations were just him shooting a shot and getting left on read, but others had evolved into flirting and 2 of them resulted in nexting. And the most embarrassing part of all, the news he was sending to these women weren't even of him. I know what his body looks like, and he doesn't have chiseled abs and isn't that well endowed. I think he must have found a man's profile on some adult website and used those pictures just cropping the face out. These 2 conversations happened in the past 6 months. I ended up texting his mom and his brother from my phone, asking them to come and pick him up from the apartment, and then I went to wake him up. I told him that I knew about a girl he was messaging on Instagram, that he needed to pack a bag and get the hell out before I started throwing his stuff out on the street and causing a scene. He started crying and begging me not to kick him out, and swore that they were just messages, and that he would never actually cheat on me. But I don't believe him for a second. Then he had the nerve to tell me that he didn't want me to tell anyone else about what he'd done, but I had left the room and started ignoring him by that point. He left with his mom and brother and is staying there from what I know. I've blocked him on everything for the time being until I'm ready to tell him that I'm seeking annulment. Thankfully, from where I'm from, you can get one almost no questions asked, as long as you haven't been married for longer than 30 days and I've already looked into the process. I haven't really left my apartment at all this week, and I've been calling in sick to work because I don't feel like I can face people. I'm just so embarrassed that I've wasted over 2 years on this man and that I married him in the first place. I don't feel like I can talk to people about this, so posting here has helped, and I'd like to thank you all for your kind words, advice, and support. I might reach out to Misha when the dust has settled, but I think I'll need to build up some courage for that. How to ruin your life, because you can't hide the fact you are lusting after another woman at your actual wedding. I wonder if he was lusting, or if it was just an ego thing. I've known people in that situation who string someone along who has a crush on them. They like the ego boost. And when that person moves on, it stings them. Ego thing for sure. Had an ex like this myself. And boy are they ugly on the inside, and sometimes on the outside when the rose-colored glasses come off. It's cathartic watching them implode a little when they learn you have self-esteem now. Oh yes, me too. He put me down and was cruel and dismissive for 3 years, but always gave just enough to make sure I was still interested, all because he liked the attention. I was very emotionally messed up and an easy target. Then, He finally introduced me to his best friend, who he also put down a lot. Friend and I got along great. When he noticed we were having a lively conversation without him, he started sitting really close to me and putting his arm around my shoulder, to which I did not respond. Friend and I went out to fancy dinner together 2 nights later and talked up a storm. Horrid ex found out. Within a week, I was ghosted without warning or explanation by both of them. I haven't seen either one in a year, and that's what it took to break the chain. Time and distance. Good for Misha for extricating herself from that toxic jerk. The only bright side is, she didn't waste any more of her life on this lying loser and realized what was up immediately after the wedding. Yes, plus she was nice with Misha at the wedding and didn't blame others for her guy's horrible behavior. A lot of people would have felt insecure and lashed out at Misha instead of the guy. She was smart enough to put the blame on the person who deserved it and was able to get away right away instead of wasting years on this guy. So many people try to blame the person their partner cheated with, or in this case, tried to cheat with, and got shut down. Then they stay with a cheater and keep blaming other people as if that will salvage the relationship. Far better to focus your upset feelings on the jackass who caused them and to get them out of your life and move on. Last story. Update. I found out that my husband tried to convince his old girlfriend to run off with him before her wedding. Original post. So that has happened. The best part is, we're on holiday with 3 other couples in a foreign country. My sister sent me money so I could get my own room here. I looked at changing my flight, but it's so expensive, and we aren't scheduled to leave for 4 days yet. Last year, my husband and some of his friends had a lads' weekend in London. In reality, he had gone up to Liverpool because he heard his old girlfriend from university was getting married and went to convince her to run off with him. She sent him on his way. I only found out because 2 of his mates and one of their wives who are on holiday with us talked about it after we'd all been drinking. My husband didn't deny it. He says it was a stupid decision he made on a whim, and besides that, hasn't seen or talked to her in 12 years and has never been unfaithful. But he didn't deny that he asked her to run off with him and ask his mates to lie for him. At least the beach here is beautiful and the resort has alcohol. I'm just wanting a good cry here. I have called my sister, but I don't want to run up my mobile bill. I can't stay with him. Not after that. I'm on here to spill my feelings everywhere. I've already cried on the beach. Now for the top advice before reading the update. How long have you been married? We have been married for 7 years. Oh yeah, I tried to run off with her, but the only reason I'm with you is because she turned me away. But I haven't done anything since then, so it's okay. It hurts now, but in time you'll see it's the best decision you ever made. Be with someone that chooses you always. You're not a consolation prize he gets because the ex didn't want him. And all my friends knew, and I got them to cover for me and then let you holiday with them. So really, it's not that bad, and on par with me forgetting to buy the milk. All in all, we're a great bunch of people. If he hasn't cheated yet, it's only because he hasn't been afforded the opportunity. I'm so sorry this happened to you. The absolute gall he and his friends have is unreal. You are absolutely right in that you can't stay with him. He betrayed your trust and marriage, in probably the worst way imaginable, and just came back as if nothing happened. The man is looking for outs to the marriage himself. You might as well show him the easiest one, the door. But remember to take as much off him on his way out. Record all interactions, start getting bank statements together, get that information about him absconding to Liverpool to run away with an old flame in writing via text messages, etc. Outside of it being good during a divorce settlement, it will generally make it easier for the court to come to a determination that the marriage is irreconcilable. In Wales, divorce is strictly no fault. There are no longer grounds for divorce or the need to prove bad behavior, and whatever the husband or wife did has no bearing on the settlement. I used to work in a law firm as an assistant until I switched jobs this year. Wow, what a crappy husband. An equally crappy friend group. For real. I mean, it sucks being OP right now, but also, imagine being the friends' wives? Knowing your husband was okay with his friend doing that crap would make me seriously question who I married. The wives knew about it when he did, and none of them told me. All 3 couples who knew traveled with us knew, and he has other mates back home. He told them what he was really doing and that the lads' weekend in London was a lie. Not all of them told me after we were drinking, but they all knew. I hope you're okay. I can't imagine what you're feeling right now. Such a terrible thing to do, and for the friends that never told you, Has he even tried to find you to explain? I'm avoiding all of them and told them to leave me alone. If he has tried, he hasn't found me yet. Now for the update. It's not very exciting, but I was getting people asking. Our flight ended up being delayed because of the storm that came to Florida. When we did get to fly home, I wasn't sitting with my husband or any of them. My sister picked me up from the airport and I am staying with her for the time being. My husband has tried to explain, but I don't want to hear it. It's my intention to get a divorce. Here in Wales, divorce is no fault, and anything he did won't have any effect on it. Both of us have jobs. We didn't have kids yet. Our flat isn't owned by either of us. The process has started, but it won't be drawn out. I also had some of the people who knew what he did apologize to me for hiding it, but it feels like too little too late to me. Did you share a room the rest of the trip? What happened? I got my own room in another part of the hotel after this happened. He wanted me to stay in our room, but I just couldn't. Does he know you want to divorce now? Yes, he does. I have started the process and both of us have solicitors now. Best wishes. You deserve not to be a placeholder or fallback plan in your relationship. Sorry your circle of friends with him sucks too. May you move on and find your happiness. Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that if he doesn't like the way I parent his kid, he should give her to her alcoholic mother? Original post. I'm not someone who has ever wanted kids to start with. I knew I was unable to have children from a very young age due to a medical condition, and made peace with this long ago, and it wasn't difficult for me too. I have been married to my husband for 3 years now, and absolutely adore his daughter. She's literal a ray of sunshine joy. And he has been honest with me from day one that his daughter will always be his first priority, something that I actually admired about him. I also understood that he will never be able to leave her with her mother because she has a drinking problem that can lead to violence. However, recently he started being very judgmental of everything me and his daughter do together. His daughter is now 7 years old and a few months ago fell during practice and fractured her arm. He was very worried about her, and I was too, but he has always been very protective of her. When I told him that he should relax, she'll be alright and that he can't control every aspect of her life as a way to comfort him, he told me that he'll never be someone like my father, something that really hurt me, but I let it slide. After this incident, he started throwing comments here and there about how I'm being careless with her, or how I'm not fit to be around her, or how I sometimes act so childish with her. A few days ago, I was going to pick her up from school, but I was 15 minutes late due to a hold-up at work, while he was out on a business trip. I felt that she was upset about waiting this long because she never had to wait this long before, but she didn't complain. I just felt it. She was not as upbeat as she usually was, so I decided to cancel my plans for the weekend and spend some time with her, with a promise that all studies will be done on Sunday, which almost always was the usual case. We had a what she called girls only day till dad comes home. Went shopping, ate out, had a Disney marathon, and spent some time by the backyard pool. That was over the course of 2 days till my husband came back home. I told him what we did over the few days he was away, which I have of course mentioned over the phone when we talked, or his daughter mentioned when he called her. Though his reaction was not what I expected one bit. His first words to me was, "Do you think you can be a proper mother figure for once in your life?" A sentence that till now still bothers me and echoes in my head. We had a big argument, which ended with me saying that if he doesn't see me as a proper mother figure to his daughter, he should send her to live with her real mother. I still feel bad about saying this, and I know that it will upset me to no end if he actually separated her from me, because I have honestly grown very attached to her. Though still, I do not know if there is something I am not seeing, or if there is something I fail to understand. Maybe I do not have the instinct to mother a child, or I am not seeing it as big of a responsibility as it should be. I just do not understand. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. What exactly does he expect you to do? Bark orders at her and then ignore her half the day? You're interacting with her. You two are close. You do fun things with her. And he's acting like you're not doing it right? Tell him to shut the heck up and kick rocks if he doesn't like how you interact with your stepdaughter. There are 2 comments he made that would have me having a talk with him. Now, he said she wasn't fit to be a parent. And then when are you going to start being a proper mother figure for once in your life, or something close to that? Those are some serious, almost accusation-like comments. He's insinuating something. You would think he'd be overjoyed that his new wife accepts and loves his daughter and spends quality time with her. not the a-hole. I think couples counseling would help, as blended family can be complicated with lots of different feelings that can be hard to sort through. My gut feeling is that he's somehow jealous of your close relationship with her. Maybe he always had a distant relationship with his own parents and feels threatened by your close bond with his daughter, as it's not how he's been raised. As always, communication is going to be needed to fix this. We both did not have the best relationships with our parents, which led to not having a parental figure to look up to. He was too attached to his father, but his father was always away, while his mother was always absent to their emotional needs, or that's what I understood from how he used to describe her to me. For me, my father was more of the parent to spoil so you love him, even if it's at the expense of your own good. Eventually, he left when I was in my late teens and rarely called every now and then because he cares. All this led me to be really hateful towards my dad and close to my mother, even struggling financially for a while because he was really well off and refused to send me any money at a time. So maybe he's scared that he'll repeat the circle or something. It's really exhausting to try and figure him out at this moment, when all he seems to do is just criticize everything I do. He's already perpetuating the cycle. I would have done anything for a stepmom like you. My stepmother was too young to have a 1-year-old daughter, so she followed my narc father's lead a lot. It was super messed up. Now for the update. First of all, thanks for everyone who commented and tried to help me with any insight about this. I really appreciate it. This turned to be more of a rant than expected, so sorry in advance. So the issue with his daughter has actually not been about the way I am with her, but a totally different thing. In short, he is not cheating on me, but he thinks I might have cheated on him. There was someone in his ears, and it's his mother. Apparently, mother-in-law didn't like me from day one, and I was stupidly oblivious to how deep it ran. Yes, a part of me did not allow myself to be fully relaxed around her, and I was kind of on guard because she was excessively nice at times, but I never imagined her dislike ran this deep. It was normal for her to call me names behind my back, say I'm not on their level, tell my husband that I'm using him for his money. Even though till his latest promotion, I was making more than him, and he always joked to mention in front of his family that I was the breadwinner. Now it makes sense why. Also, I was told that whenever my husband stood up for me, her response was, "It's not like she'll be the mother of my grandchild one day." It kind of makes sense now why she had a whole hissy fit when I miscarried the first year of my marriage, as I never went into details about my medical condition with her. I just mentioned I couldn't have a child on my own. Another thing was last year's Mother's Day. My stepdaughter asked her grandma if she can get a gift to Mom. She refers to me by my first name, and never have I heard her call me Mom. Her grandmother went on to explain that she should never call me Mom, because I'm not her actual mother. I'm just Mila. This last thing specifically I fully believe, because I remember it being around a time that my husband asked me, how would I feel if his daughter referred to me as Mom? Her latest scenario is telling everyone that it's suspicious, how sometimes I ask her to babysit my stepdaughter for a bit after school, even though I'm working from home, despite the fact that I stole her time with her grandchild. Yes, there was a couple of months I was so busy with a project that even watching over her while I worked from home was not even an option. I can only imagine, how did she twist this? I knew all of this from his brother's wife when she called me about a few hours ago because she knew I left home and I'm staying with my mom for a while. In her opinion, I should not give mother-in-law the satisfaction of sabotaging my marriage. I left home after he tried to have a decent conversation about what he viewed was problematic of last weekend. The conversation started great, but ended horribly with him asking if I want a divorce, because I'm not satisfied or happy with marrying him. After all of this and as of now, I'm starting to think if it is all worth it. To be honest, if I knew from day one that mother-in-law talked about me like this, I wouldn't have gone through with a marriage or even a relationship to start with. I feel like I was lied to in a way. I also do not understand why did my husband not talk to me about any of this. If it's his way of keeping peace between me and his mother, then it's not appreciated. I'm almost tempted to just call him and tell him that it's either he cuts his mother off from our marriage, or at the very least expect me to not have any relationship with her, or everyone should go on their separate way. My mind is currently working on overdrive, and I probably won't be able to even talk to him and come up with some sort of solution till my feelings are not clouding my thought pattern. You never mentioned what mother-in-law said to make him allegedly believe you had cheated. Did he accuse you of that? It's never clarified. Honestly, it seems like his excuse for his treatment of you is some made-up BS about mother-in-law, as if he's not responsible for believing her lies and not talking to you about any of it.
Asking, "Do you want to divorce me?" is honestly a pretty big red flag. It's like him saying, "I'm pretty much done, but I want to make you be the one to say it's over." What I know about what his mother is saying is all from his brother's wife. So she told me what she knew, because apparently his mother has done something similar at the beginning of her marriage too. So from what she knows and I understood is that mother-in-law always threw around how I'm probably unfaithful because I get bored fast and have no discipline. I do admit that I never held a job for more than a couple of years because I get bored and shifted careers a lot. But that's my career, and I won't have anyone who knows nothing about my work judge that. As for the working from home, I'm working in an advertising agency and I mostly am responsible for the part of branding for startups. So having a one-on-one meeting with a client at my home office is suspicious for her, specifically if I'm sending the little girl away to her. My husband never straight up accused me of cheating, but our last conversation he asked questions like, "Why are you always sending my little girl to my mom all of a sudden if you are the one that offered she can stay with you? What changed? Or what's up with a sudden change of clothing style? Or since when do you get hold-ups at work?" Though recently started wanting to know in specific who is the client that I was with, something I thought was fine because the house is also his private space too. By specific, I mean like name and how did it go and such. If all is true, it does hurt that he would believe his mother's lies and made up stories than just talk. I'd rather be hurt that he tells me what his mother thinks of me than have him try to throw mean comments about something irrelevant to his actual worries in an attempt to escape having a conversation about the real issue. You should post this as an edit. Lots of good background info. Legit question. Why are you meeting clients at home instead of grabbing your laptop and heading to Starbucks or the office or something? That could be potentially dangerous, and I personally would 1000% not be happy about that. Unless you could convince me that you couldn't fit what you need for a meeting in a bag, and you owned and were trained in tactical self-defense shooting, or at least a purple or brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Honestly, I haven't thought about it being dangerous, as the first initial meeting with a client is usually done in office by another department, so in my head it sounded safe. Though my only problem was that I didn't like someone I don't know to walk through the interior of my house till we reached my office. So I had a door leading from the side of the backyard straight to my office. It may have been careless of me now that I think about it, that I may have failed to see the potential danger, but I didn't have my husband or anyone really say anything about it. The way I looked at it was that it's more convenient for me as the office is an hour's drive. I also do not like working in a cafe or something, so the option didn't cross my mind. To be honest, I would absolutely ask that. Why isn't he telling you? Why is he lying by omission? Does he actually think you're cheating? Does he want you to be a mom figure in his kid's life? If the answers are no, then does he want a divorce? Because he can't have it both ways. He can't let his mom talk trash and then hide it and get mad at you for being there for his kid. Sounds like he's projecting and he's the one who's not happy here. Which is fine, but like he needs to be a big boy and own that if that's the case. What a hot mess. His own mother is doing this. Why are some mothers like this? It's sick. He's married to his mama, and this is what these boys do in those situations. They will drift from woman to woman and never figure out that they and their lack of backbone are the actual issue. Because mommy spends her life in a "my son is perfect" circle jerk, and this satiates his frail ego. Last story. Am I the a-hole for pointing out to my wife, 30 female, that she never had a job before? So I, 35 male, and my wife, 30 female, got married about 6 months ago. We were just hanging out with a few friends today, most are newly married couples too. I was talking with them about how finance has been a bit tight lately since I'm the sole earner in our family. Living cost has been more than doubled since I was single, while there's no additional income. We also recently put down our down payment to our house, so expenses are higher than ever. Anyways, we were trying to cut down some other expenses. We recently calculated our grocery spending average, which comes to about $1,000 a month. So I was trying to get advice from my friends on how to cut it back. We got a few different feedback, from buy this item at a different store to it's okay to spend more on groceries, but try to cut back on other expenses. My wife, whose cooking is her hobby and pretty much what she's doing all day, was very supportive with the idea of keeping or increasing the current grocery budget, which I think is already too high for just 2 people. I pointed out to her how it may not be feasible for us to keep the current spending, let alone increase it. I emphasized to her that working a full-time job to earn money for the family is not easy. She's 30 years old, but she never had any job experience. She has lived her entire life under her parents' roof, and had all her expenses managed by her parents until we got married 6 months ago. I told her again that now we are married, things will have to change for both of us. She got visibly quiet after I said this, and my friends quickly tried to change the conversation topic. At that point, I realized I might have hit a nerve with my words, even if technically I'm not saying anything wrong. Am I the a-hole for saying this? Edit. I didn't expect this post to receive this many comments. Whether you're saying not the a-hole or you're the a-hole, I respect all your feedback and opinion. Keep them coming. For everyone asking on more clarification, we do live in a very high cost of living area, Peninsula Bay Area, so everything is very expensive here. $1,000 per month grocery spending is just for groceries, but that's not all of our food spending. We cook for 5 to 6 days of meal per week and eat out 2 to 4 times a week. Our restaurant spending comes to an additional $400 to $500 per month. Why my wife never had a job before, as some of you have guessed, is because of the family upbringing. Their family values are basically men work and earn money, while women stay at home, do household chores, and raise children. My wife's sisters, mother, and her closest female cousins, as far as I know, none of them ever had a real job before. Isn't that a conversation you should have had 6 months ago before you got married? Makes me wonder what else you did not discuss. I agree with you that a stay-at-home is a huge financial burden, but not like she quit her job. And maybe have a conversation like that in private, not in front of an audience. Yeah, this would have been awful for everyone involved. It's wild that you would have this conversation with your friends and not before you were married. It's also wild that you're spending $1,000 a month on groceries for 2 people. You married a princess. Yeah, I don't think Opie realizes it either. She's a queen now, and he is asking her to work. I doubt her mother worked, and I doubt her father asked her to work. And if they ever get divorced, even without kids, he will be 100% supporting her through alimony payments forever, unless she somehow gets married again, which most will just live with somebody but not get married just to not give up alimony, unless she catches a bigger fish somehow. But guaranteed big alimony since you married her never having a job or any life skills, and she has continued to not have any job. She would be entitled to maintaining her same lifestyle in most cases after a divorce because you chose to catch a trophy wife, and she can be accepted to stay that way. Very stupid. Should have at least made her get a basic job before the wedding, so you could at least have the argument that she had a job before, so a judge would expect her to still have a job factored into the alimony calculations, versus not having one.
Update. I, 30 female, am sitting in the back of my RV as my husband, 32 male, rants about how lovely the trip would be if I hadn't joined him. Original post. Just a note, this is the first time that an issue like this has come up in our marriage, and I do not know what to do. I have been writing romance novels since I was in college. I was a relatively successful author, and I have made a living off selling my novels ever since. I do not make a lot of money, but I do bring home around $40,000 a year in book sales. This allows me to stay at home during the day so I can write and also make crafts to sell in my Etsy shop. A few years after college, I met Tim and we instantly hit it off. We dated for 3 years before tying the knot, and we bought a house shortly after. Tim makes living off his investments in stocks. However, we keep our finances separate. This is because Tim inherited a vast amount of money from his family, and before we married, I signed a prenup agreement in order to ease his mind. We both contribute an equal share to the joint bank accounts for bills. Then we use the remainder of our money for ourselves. About a year ago, I landed a contract to write part of a romance series. The contract was huge, and the payout was over $120,000 for a few months' work. I contributed my share to the joint account and then put the rest of the money into the bank so I could buy an RV. I have always wanted an RV because I love to travel, and nothing would make me happier than being able to write while on the road. Tim is often away on business for days at a time, so the RV would give me an opportunity to get out of the house while he is away. After 6 months of deciding, I chose a lightly used RV and purchased it from the owners for a great price. When Tim found out about the purchase, he was excited. He has a travel trailer, but it's not the same as an all-in-one RV. He loves RVs and wanted to immediately take it out for a trip across the state. We took our trip and Tim couldn't stop talking about how much he enjoyed the experience. And he started talking about taking more trips together. I gently reminded him that even though the RV is a fun thing for us to have for vacations, that its main purpose is for me to have something to do while he is away for business, but that we would be taking plenty of vacations together. Tim agreed with me and let it go for a while. The thing is, in the past few weeks, Tim has been badgering me about taking the RV with him on his business trips. He usually flies when he goes to check his rental property/visit family, and he's normally gone for 4 to 5 days at a time. We got into an argument because he had to evict a tenant and he wanted to drive the RV across the state in order to do so. I asked him if I could come along, and Tim said he would prefer if I didn't. I then said that if I couldn't come with him, then he couldn't take my RV. I suggested that he'd take his travel trailer instead, and he got mad and stormed out of the house. About an hour later, he started texting me like nothing had happened. And then he said he was taking the RV as if our previous conversation had never happened. I called him and tried to explain that he had just purchased a brand new pickup, and that if I didn't get to drive his new truck in his absence, why should he get to take my RV when I'm not coming on the trip? Tim and I went back and forth, and eventually he said I could come along if it meant that much to me. I said I would, and now I'm regretting everything. I'm sitting in the back of my own RV with a man who won't let me touch the wheel. It has been 3 days since this trip has started, and all Tim has done is rant about how awesome the RV trip would be if I weren't with him. It has made me question everything in our marriage, from how we split our finances to how we argue and function together. This is the first time that anything like this has ever happened, and I don't know what to do in this situation. He is still ranting as I type this, and he's never done that before either. Now for the top advice before reading the update. There is no way these issues are about an RV and a pickup truck. You should get yourselves to a marriage counselor so you two can get the bottom of whatever your real issues are. Counseling is worth a try, but I don't know if he would be a willing participant at this point. I have never heard him be passive-aggressive like this before. Usually, he is brutally honest about his feelings. If I can find a good time to suggest it, I will. But if that moment never comes, I'm probably going to leave. And as I typed this comment, I realized that I have been walking on eggshells around him, and that's not fair at all. He sounds like a selfish brat who's had everything handed to him in life and can't tolerate being told no. He won't go to therapy because he doesn't want to hear harsh truths. When you try to talk to him, he's going to try to invalidate your feelings, but don't let him. You aren't in the wrong. Tim is a prick. He was fine not sharing when he had nicer stuff, but now that you have something nicer, he gets pissy that you won't share. He really just sounds like a selfish a-hole. Yeah. The most charitable interpretation I can come up with is that nobody ever taught this dude how to share. The less charitable interpretation is that nobody taught him to share and he has weird hang-ups about control and women making money. Wow, your financial setup is kind of awful. It's one thing for a person with a lot of money in accounts to want to have a prenup to ensure that they don't lose that, or someone who owns an established business or significant assets. That makes sense to me. But when one partner is rich and the other is making a normal living, it seems wrong to me that the rich partner wouldn't want their spouse to have a higher standard of living while they are married. Your husband does sound like a prick. There is no way in hell you should be paying half of the expenses if your income is way less. He is a selfish bastard. Why did he buy himself an RV since he can probably do that without batting an eye? Seriously, I see situations often on this sub where a large inheritance can be a real negative in terms of a person's suitability for marriage, as it makes them paranoid and unwilling to share, where a normal person with a normal working life should be more generous and approach finances with a spirit of togetherness. At least you would have the right to expect that they would. I didn't mind signing the prenup because, like you said, he had significant assets he wanted to protect. It only covers the funds he had before he entered the marriage. Everything after the marriage is split. Your insight is very valuable because you're right. It's not as if I do not bring home money or that I don't have a job. I split everything I have with him, but he has been unwilling to share with me. Edit. Hey guys, I have read all your comments and advice. I don't know what I'll do yet, but I will update later. I've read all of your messages and I've got limited internet right now. A few of you were concerned for my safety and I just wanted to let you all know I'm fine. I plan on confronting him later today. And now for the update. I promised I would update, but things got very hectic and this is the first chance I have gotten. This whole situation makes me very emotional, so please forgive me if this post is not as coherent as I would like it to be. When I posted my first post, we were on the road in the RV and my husband was giving me the cold shoulder while he complained about me from the driver's seat. You all had some great advice for me about what I should do, and I listened to a few people who suggested that he might be cheating on me. Tim had left his iPad in the back of the RV to charge while he drove. I'm not proud of this, but I was able to sneak his iPad into the bedroom while he was distracted by the road. He was logged into his email account and I quickly skimmed over his inbox, but I didn't find anything suspicious. I then had the idea to check his sent folder and found out that he had been chatting up his ex from college. It made me sick to my stomach to read the messages, but luckily they had not yet been physical. Translated from the chat speak, the message he had sent his ex was basically, "I can't wait to get my hands on you. It's been years since I felt that mouth. I'm excited." I was disgusted, but I tried to keep calm. We were on the road headed to another state and we planned on stopping at his mother's house. I knew that if his messages were in the sent folder, that meant that he had deleted them. Tim was not planning on being caught and was trying to hide his tracks. He wanted my RV so that he could take his ex around the state and have fun without leaving a credit card trace. I took photos of the emails and sent them to myself in order to preserve the evidence. I then went back to the front of the RV and acted as if everything was fine. I apologized, don't worry, I lied, for how I had acted and suggested that we ask his mom to help us work through this. Tim said that he was sorry too and that he accepted my apology. He said he was looking forward to using the RV in the future and that he was glad I had come to see reason. I smiled and nodded, but on the inside, I was cursing his existence. We made it to his mom's house and I made up an excuse about having to change because my clothes were wrinkled. Tim went inside without me, and I started throwing all of his clothes and belongings into a trash bag. I then went inside a house, and Tim was sitting with his mom in the kitchen. He asked me what I was doing with the bag, and I told him that I was giving him his clothes so that I could leave. Tim then got angry and asked me what the heck was I doing, and his mom was simply confused. She asked me what was going on, and I told her, I'm not sure myself. I'm waiting for Tim to explain why he was planning to cheat on me with his ex. Tim's mom then started to cry and yell at Tim while he tried to calm her down. I know Reddit does not have a lot of love for religion, but Tim's mother is a fundamentalist. She had loved me from the minute Tim introduced me to her, and it would be an understatement to say that she was very upset with her adulterous son. Tim never tried to apologize to me. Instead, he chased after his mother saying he was sorry to her. This made her cry harder because she knew that he wasn't even trying to make amends with me. He was just apologizing to her. She hugged me and told me to just go home and she would handle her son. I thanked her and took the RV keys from Tim. This ended up being a minor wrestling match and left. I drove home crying, but at least I got rid of my a-hole ex-husband. Tim called me the next day and begged me to come back to him. He said it was all a mistake, that he was sorry. I asked him why he didn't apologize at his mother's house, why he didn't say he was sorry when I was handing him his bag. I told him that he didn't care about cheating on me, that all he cared about is how bad it made him look to his family. He tried to explain himself, but I cut off and hung up. I blocked him on all social media and haven't heard anything since. I've gotten a lawyer and have already started the divorce process. Ouch. Silver lining in this is now you have the RV to yourself and can find a better partner in the future. I'm also glad his mother took your side and was upset with him for cheating. You should definitely keep her in your life after the divorce. Yep, I'm going to have a blast driving around without him. And the bonus is that I don't have to pay for a hotel. I love his mom and I'm so happy she defended me. She's such a no-nonsense person and I hope I find out what she did with him. You handled it like such a boss that the only thing left to do is to speculate on this. She bit the living daylights out of him is what happened. Lol. Wow, complex feelings on this one. There's the ouch, that's awful, but also an overwhelming but thank God she's getting the heck away from that a-hole. I was concerned that you might stay with him for another year or two until the marriage gave his last gasp. This is surely painful, but cleaner. And you haven't ever got to think about the other woman being in your RV. Finding out he was cheating made it an easy decision. It was like, okay, he's cheating on you and he doesn't give a damn. You don't have to give a damn now either. It would be much, much harder if he was simply being an a-hole. Luckily, he made a choice for me. I'm glad he cheated on me. Doesn't sound like it would be true, but it is. The clarity just simplifies life so much. With me, it was when I hitchhiked during a snowstorm on my birthday to bring my separated husband the house key he had given our son because he had locked himself out of his apartment. His response? I suppose I have to drive you home now. You think? Thank you. That was a birthday gift after all. When I read your first story, I thought, he wants it so he won't leave a credit card trail. I guess I was right. What a sorry fool he is. I'm sorry it turned out this way, but I'm glad you kicked him out and talked to a lawyer. Screw him. Thank you. You're right. Screw him. Now for the last story. Girlfriend 24 female wants to move in together and wants me, 24 male, to fully financially support her through her 4-year PhD program. I refused because I want her to pay her fair share of rent and bills. My girlfriend and I got together in our last year of uni and have been together for about a year now. We both graduated this year and got our masters in our respective fields. I have recently started my first job as an engineer and doing great so far. My girlfriend graduated with a degree in biology and applied for a PhD program her last semester. She got the great news that her application for a 4-year program got accepted, so she will be starting off her career doing research. I'm currently living on my own in a small 1-bedroom apartment. It's definitely not the best, but it's good enough for one person and I can deal with it. It's pretty affordable compared to other places in our city and allows me to actually start saving up for a house later down the line. My initial plan was to continue to endure living here so I don't waste too much money on rent and can save up until I can eventually buy my own place. My girlfriend has been living with a couple of roommates for the past few years. My girlfriend brought up the idea of the both of us moving in together. She wants us to find a bigger apartment in our city and live there for the duration of her PhD program. I was honestly not expecting this from her so soon, but I wasn't opposed to it at first, and it actually seemed like the right next step in our relationship. But she then told me that I would have to pay for all the rents and bills, because her income doing research would be very low, and I would be making way more than her, and that she also has to start paying off her massive student loan debt. I told her that I would want to split our rent and utilities by percentage of our income, so that we would be both contributing equally according to our income. She responded that as her partner, I should be willing to support her in her career, and that paying for rent would be my way of helping her. I straight up told her that this is not what I wanted, and that we should either move in together and contribute equally or not move in at all. This turned into a huge argument where she said that I wasn't a supportive boyfriend for not helping her with her career, and me saying that we should be contributing equally. We have now not talked to each other for almost 2 days. This definitely threw me off. When it comes to relationships, I view them as an equal partnership on all fronts, whether that's financial or domestic affairs. Apart from some money I have saved up for my part-time job during college, I pretty much have no savings now and want to start building up my life, so I definitely won't be paying rent and utilities for anybody else if they aren't contributing themselves, even if it's my girlfriend. If I got a new, bigger place and moved in with my girlfriend while having to pay for everything, I would not be able to save up nearly as much and would be holding myself back for 4 years. I think that if she isn't willing to contribute financially, we're better off not moving in at all. How do you guys think we can resolve this issue between the both of us? Now for the advice. You've only been dating a year. No way I'd do this. Too much chance that you find her PhD and then she dumps you when she's done. Actually, I wouldn't recommend anyone moving in together after only 1 year, but especially just so one can support the other. Even if OP agreed, he would harbor so much resentment in those 4 years. I don't think any amount of intimacy, cuddling, etc. could make up for the 40-plus hour work weeks OP would have to do to support both of them. That actually happened to a friend of mine. She funded his PhD, then 2 weeks after he was done, he dumped her. She never really got over it. A friend of mine supported her husband while he studied. He graduated and got a new shiny wife in his profession. Yep, and those are the people who say, I did this by myself. It's not my fault you didn't go to school or advance in your career. I need somebody who can participate with me 50-50. I need somebody who's on my level. After you did 95-5, just to help them survive so that they could focus on their dreams. And then they possibly tell their next spouse that she needs to give up on her career so they can play a more supporting role. Like, you had that, but it wasn't good enough. You could have had what you wanted if you just accepted what you had. Update. Husband demanded I change clothes multiple times for our date night, then stormed out when I refused after the 3rd time. Original post. So my husband Mark, 37 male, and I, 34 female, have been having a rough few years. We got married in the fall of 2019 after being together for 5 years before then. And of course, a few months after that, the pandemic hit. I had a misfortune of getting a pretty bad case of COVID near the beginning of the pandemic and was hospitalized for 2 weeks, which turned into long COVID. I wasn't completely disabled, but dealt with a lot of the typical symptoms. Extreme fatigue, brain fog, reduced immune system, generally resulting in several bad infections, etc. I didn't lose my job but did have to take intermittent FMLA, which meant a lot of time without pay. And we racked up $20,000 in debt between the medical bills not covered by insurance and loss of some of my income. Although I tried to be mindful of my eating, I also gained 45 pounds thanks to being on antidepressants, several rounds of steroid medication, and not being able to exercise. Through all this, Mark was incredibly loving and supportive. He never said a bad word about my weight, lack of energy, or inability to contribute financially at the same level as before. Finally, last summer, I started to feel a lot better, and most of the long COVID symptoms subsided. I was able to return to work full-time and had energy to work out again. In the past year, we had paid off all our debts and rebuilt our emergency fund, and I have lost 35 of the 45 pounds I gained. The doctor says this is a good place for me to end up as I was borderline underweight before, and I'm now on a slimmer side of a normal/healthy weight. Mark and I hadn't been having many date nights since we got married, between the pandemic, my illness, and then for the past year working to get our finances in order. However, to celebrate my birthday, we decided to have dinner at an upscale bistro, and then go see the Barbie movie which he actually suggested. This was last Saturday. My actual birthday wasn't for a few more days, but we wanted to go on a weekend. I was excited to dress up, as most of my clothes had gotten baggy and drab during my illness and weight gain. I was finally feeling comfortable in my own skin again. So I decided to go full Barbiecore, pink sleeveless dress, fitted at a top and then flared out, and pink kitten heels with a matching bag. The money for the outfit came from a birthday check from my mom, and she insisted that I spend it on something fun. When I put on the outfit, I felt really pretty for the first time in a long time. Unfortunately and surprisingly, Mark reacted badly to it. He said it looked slutty and attention-seeking, and essentially accused me of trying to get the attention of other men, and that I should cover up more. I protested, because first of all, we were going to a restaurant, table for two, and a movie theater. When exactly was I going to be interacting socially with other men? Also, the outfit was quite dramatic and striking, but it wasn't revealing. Sleeveless dresses are pretty normal date night wear for a hot summer day, and it wasn't low-cut, neckline was at the collarbone, and was on the longer side, calf length. But I didn't want to argue, so I put on a black knit cardigan over the dress. Nope, still no dice for Mark. He said it was still attention-seeking. At this point, I really wanted to get going and not miss our reservation, so I gave up on the dress and changed into fitted jeans and a pastel pink tunic top, not fitted. Nope, said Mark. I still looked like I was trying to attract other men. So I threw on a hoodie over the top, but then he said I looked sloppy. I was really exasperated by this point and asked if he just wanted to come to my closet to pick an outfit that was acceptable, and he started yelling that I was too stupid to even understand that I was disrespecting him and that I didn't know how to dress myself. Then he said he was going for a drive and going to the movie without me. The tickets were on his phone. He came home after midnight, said he didn't want to talk, and that he was going to sleep in the guest room. He has barely spoken to me since. My actual birthday was a couple days ago and he didn't even acknowledge it. I begged him to please talk to me and tell me what was really going on, but he said he was still too angry. So am I the a-hole for not trying to change my clothes yet again before our date for my birthday? I still don't know what he was really upset about, or what sort of outfit would have been acceptable. And no, I never once tried to make rules about what I could wear, or commented at all on my clothes, except to tell me that I looked nice or that he liked certain colors on me. This really came out of nowhere as far as I can tell. And again, he selected a Barbie movie and planned a date, so it's not like I was strong-arming him into plans he didn't want. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Something deeper is going on. Time to have a serious discussion about where you guys are in this relationship. No matter how much my wife are fighting, it would be a truce on a birthday. The odd thing is we haven't been fighting at all. Not a bit. He was so incredibly loving and supportive while I was ill, and over the past year we have gradually gotten back to a more even dynamic, as I was feeling better and better. And until a week ago, I would have said our relationship was stronger than ever for having gotten through the really tough times. Snapping at me over clothes and then digging in and blowing up both my birthday dinner and my actual birthday definitely came out of nowhere. He was incredibly loving when you were feeling sick, overweight, unattractive, and basically housebound. He had locked you away in his goodie box, away from other boys that might want to oogle his favorite toy. Now you're gorgeous, confident, feeling good in your body and about yourself. He doesn't want the chance of you figuring out that you could maybe do better, so he got what he wanted. You're back put away in his goodie box and questioning what you did wrong. What you really need to do is get yourself out of the box. You aren't his property. You aren't a reflection of anyone other than yourself. You are strong and confident, and while you love him and are grateful for his support, you deserve better than an insecure little boy who wants to control you and shut you away. A gilded cage is still a cage. Is he cheating on you? Sounds like he was trying to get out the door by himself. Cheating hadn't crossed my mind, but it was odd how he suddenly wanted to pick a fight and then bolt out the door without me. The funny thing is, all day before he saw my outfit, he had been telling me how much he was looking forward to going out and celebrating my birthday with me. That's actually a ploy used so you don't get suspicious when a fight starts and they storm out. A man want to see it alone? Not likely. He sounds like an abuser. You just haven't noticed before now because you've been right where he wants you since getting married. At home, under his thumb, and you gained weight to boot. So he didn't have to worry about you attracting other men. Now for the update. I did end up going to my mom's place for the weekend last weekend and had a nice girls' weekend with my mom and sister. We did see the movie on Saturday and got to wear my original planned outfit, and then got brunch and had a fun salon outing on Sunday. Late afternoon Sunday, I texted Mark, my husband, to say I was coming home in a couple hours and that I hoped he would be ready to talk then. That I would gladly hear him out regarding anything that had been upsetting him, but I really couldn't take the silent treatment anymore, as it had been over a week by then. He just texted back, okay. We did talk after I got home, and boy, it was a doozy. It turns out Mark has been building resentment for years, since I first got sick with COVID nearly 3.5 years ago. Not so much in the first few months, but when it was clear my illness had turned into long COVID and an ongoing disability, he started to feel very put upon due to my not being able to generate as much income, not being able to do my share of the housework and cooking, etc. He put up a good front because I knew it wouldn't be fair to take it out on me, especially when he could see I was doing my best to get better and to do what I could on my better days, and ultimately got very burned out. And then after a year or so, started seeking outlets, as in other women. He said at first it was just basically an anonymous online thing because the pandemic was still raging. But by early last year, he had formed an online emotional connection with someone in the area, whom he eventually met in person for a physical affair. Someone he is in love with now and still seeing. He said he has been trying to figure out what to do, especially as I have been getting better over the past year, lost most of the weight I gained, got back to fulfilling all my responsibilities at work and the home, etc. But when I walked out in my Barbie-core dress, expecting to have a romantic birthday date, he just couldn't do it. He couldn't go out and pretend to love me and be celebratory when he wanted to be with someone else. So he picked a fight, one I couldn't win. And then yes, when he walked out, he did take his affair partner to dinner and a movie instead. The thing is, I do understand him seeking some kind of an outlet. I was sick for years. And between physical ailments and brain fog, I wasn't able to participate consistently in a marriage on any level, not as an equal partner. We'd only been married a few months when I got sick, so it's not even like we had a lot of shared history to fall back on. I'm sure I must have felt exhausted, stressed, and lonely, especially as it wasn't certain I would be able to recover at all. I asked if he would consider marriage counseling and recommitting to our marriage, but he said sadly that his heart had moved on. He did say he was so sorry, that he never meant to fall in love with someone else and was just trying to be less lonely. And that I didn't deserve this, that I especially didn't deserve the way he treated me a couple weeks ago. So I guess divorce it is. I don't expect it will be very dramatic. We've been talking a lot over the past week. No more silent treatment, to figure out how to divide stuff, and to try to make things cordial. In the end, I don't even think he's an a-hole. Maybe for the way he acted surrounding my birthday, but overall, I think he is just a human being who eventually broke down from stress and loneliness. I do wish him well, but I'm also grateful that at least I am healthy again for whatever life has next in store for me. He's an a-hole, sweetie. He lied to you for like 3 years. You dodged a bullet. Praise Barbie that she removed this man from your life. Yeah, I do hate the lying aspect of it. He says he didn't want to cause me more stress because that could negatively impact my recovery. And he thought it would be more of an a-hole move to leave me while I was sick and unable to fully care for myself physically and financially. I know on some level that's just an excuse for cheating. but it's easier for me not to carry a lot of anger and to try to focus on getting through the divorce and figuring out what's next for me. Please get yourself some counseling or therapy, because thinking it's understandable to be cheated on and lied to and potentially exposed to STDs because you are seriously ill is, wow. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, let alone someone I loved, let alone myself. He is a piece of turd. You deserve better than to empathize with a piece of turd, for real. Thank you. You and the other kind commenters here are definitely helping me to see that this behavior isn't understandable or acceptable. Counseling will definitely be part of my divorce recovery. Definitely get yourself tested for STDs as well, just to make sure it didn't give you anything from his infidelity. Your sexual health is just as important as your emotional health. My annual GYN checkup is next week, so I'll be sure to get tested then. Unfortunately, we were still sleeping together several times a week. Guess he was faking his attraction, or maybe I was just there. Hopefully nothing has gotten transmitted. Please do not let this guy convince you he is not the bad guy here. And sickness and in health are part of the vows for a reason. If the situation was reversed, I've no doubt he would have expected twice as much support out of you. You don't cheat. He is 100% the a-hole across the board and has been for many years. Please do not take the blame for this. I wish you peace and healing as you move forward. Thank you. You told me that I couldn't be certain as to what I would have done if the situation had been reversed. I really don't think I would have cheated though. I might have leaned on friends and family, tried to get some help if I felt overwhelmed with caretaking, got therapy, etc. But I can't imagine cheating. Especially not physically, not making deliberate plans to meet someone in person after meeting online. Anyway, he wasn't meant to be my person for life. Clearly a fair weather partner, and not someone who would truly honor all the vows. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to take back my husband who left me during a manic episode? Over 2 months ago, my husband told me that he doesn't need me anymore and left me. He claimed he only dated me and married me because he was lonely, had low self-confidence, and didn't really have friends. But now that he has a good social circle and high self-confidence, he doesn't need me anymore, and I'm only pulling him back. I was absolutely heartbroken and went through a really hard time. I'm still not okay, but I'm doing a bit better now, and I'm trying to focus on self-improvement. I made a plan to run a marathon next year and to move to a better country, which my husband was always against, and those two things are what holding me together basically. However, after not talking to me at all for 2 months, my husband suddenly wants me back. He says that he went through a manic episode and that's why he behaved like that. He is seeing a psychiatrist now and claims that he loves me and I'm his everything. I don't know enough about manic episodes to be able to tell if he is telling the truth or just realized life is not better without me, but I don't care. This past 2 months were incredibly hard on me, and I just can't do this. Most of my friends agree with me, but 2 of them told me that we were perfect together. And if he had a manic episode, that means he was not in control of his actions. That I should not throw away our future because of his mental health issues. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to take him back? Now for the comments. It doesn't matter what he wants anymore. All bets are off. Focus on what you want. Your 2 friends that said you were perfect together, were they there with you every day you cried? Were they the ones that felt the heartbreak and betrayal? They can buzz right off. Those 2 friends always held our relationship as the gold standard. They had a few bad relationships, had been cheated on, but said that they are not giving up because they see how great my relationship with my husband is, how well he treats me, and they want that for themselves too. When my husband left me, it kind of took away their hope too, I think. It's like they were a bit heartbroken too. I guess with this explanation, they got their hope back. But I'm too scared to even hope. I can't go through this again. Info. Is he on a proper treatment plan for his manic episodes? Is he happy for you to meet his doctors, therapists, etc. so that they can talk you through his diagnosis and what it means for you? Would he consider taking it very slowly and starting your relationship over, rather than hopping straight back into marriage? And even if all of the above are true, have you moved on past the point of no return? While he may have been genuinely out of his mind when he left you, it doesn't mean you have to take him back. It's entirely possible that time apart had led you to reassess what you want from life, and it's valid. If you don't want to get back with him for any reason, that's sad, but it doesn't make you a bad person. Yeah, Opie's not the a-hole either way. If she still wants him back and is willing to work with his illness, that's okay. Won't be easy, but could work. If she wants to move on, that's also totally okay.
If she found out in another way that he was sick and decided to leave him, then she would be the a-hole. But after getting hurt like that, can't really blame her. I suffer from mental illness. I always say that mental illness can explain our actions, but it doesn't excuse it. You were horribly hurt by his abandonment. If you got back together, you would live in fear that he would have another manic break, and it may be too much to handle living with that. And sickness and health doesn't mean someone gets to walk all over you with no consequences. Do what's best for you. Mental illness can explain our actions, but it doesn't excuse it. Perfect. I'm bipolar, and I've lost really strong friendships because of manic episodes that spiraled out of control. That's part of living with mental illness. Whether or not I was in control, it doesn't matter. My actions and or words affected people, and that has consequences. I can't control other people, but I'm also not entitled to their suffering through my bad moments just because I like the good ones.